in my bag. So soft and so tender. Daddy in the kitchen and he told me, son, listen. He said, you don't have to play the part that they wrote for you. You don't have to play the part.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 3 of the Soft and Tender interview series. My name is Rich Robbins. I'm your host. The goal of this interview series is to highlight, celebrate, and really encourage positive narratives surrounding Black fatherhood. Today, I'm with a highly accomplished group of individuals. Some that I know fairly well or getting to know fairly well, and some that are strangers, and that by the end of this conversation, I think we will have broken that ice, but we have all come together for one major goal here, right? To get things kicked off, I really want to focus this conversation on looking toward the future with Black fatherhood in particular, right? Do y'all want to be fathers one day? And if so, what are you most excited about?
Right now, I'm actually on the fence about fatherhood. I could go either way. I really feel like I could. And just, going the direction of possibly being a father, I think the exciting part about that is being able to see a life that you created, and to be able to kind of steward that life to the best of, your know-how and your ability. But on the flip side, it's scary as fuck. Yeah. It's my mom explained parenthood to me is so to be able to have yourself, a part of yourself, walking outside of your body in this world is a scary thing. So
I've just kind of released my attachment to the idea of it, and I think that I hold it in a way where it's just I think I have an understanding of whether I have what is needed to foster that in real time, and right now not doing that shit. In the future, I think that if my life cultivates in that way, then it is something that I'm open to, but I'm definitely gonna maintain those relationships with the youth in my life and the peers in my life, and then also even the big homies and stuff too. And if I happen to have a kid, that's great, but also I'm not pressed on that as much as I was when I was younger.
So what about you, Armond?
I would say I'm on the fence as well, but I would say right now I'd lean towards no, but I can definitely see myself shifting when I'm older and my career's established.
If you were, in an elevator and you had to give an elevator pitch about your father figure, your primary father figure in your life, who is your primary father figure in your life?
My Uncle Kevin is he's the reason why I'm probably here right now. He did stand-up comedy, and his career was closest to what mine is now. So he's since there's so much parallel in our careers, it was easy to get advice from him. So I would say, without a doubt, him for sure. But
I don't know. I have a father, but I feel my entire upbringing was super decentralized. So primary is really weird. It's a super strange idea to me.
When you think about the future, where do you want that relationship with your father to go?
I think my compass for it is that I don't want me nurturing my relationship with my father to feel something that conflicts with my values, and that is it's not even a fork in the road, because I definitely be going the path that feels closer to home for me, but that is my North Star for this is when I feel comfortable.
because my relationship with my father, my biological father, has also evolved over the years, because he was in my life a lot as a child, but then he moved to Arizona around when I was 10. And then it was just my entire high school career basically just was non-existent. Mm-hmm. So then in college, I decided to go to school in Arizona to try to reestablish that relationship. Wow. But it isn't as established as Uncle Kevin, who's been in my life since I was born. But and even though Kevin is in the entertainment industry and we have that same parallel, and my dad tries to have that parallel by talking about movies, it isn't as connected per se, because since I feel like my Uncle Kevin has a lot more understanding of where I'm coming from, and my dad just wants to be there or wants to have that understanding. But since that high school part of my life is gone, it's harder for him to get there.
How about you, Anthony?
I think is always the want to see if something will evolve more. But I think with my particular situation, with my biological dad, I was the main one putting in the effort to try to, make something of it happen. He was very absent. He was never really around from like maybe 10 to current day, really. At a point, I stopped putting in the work to try to make it happen. And I was like, well, when I got to my 20s and started to, even in my 30s and started to do therapy and work through myself and do self-growth, I was kind of like, well, I'm open to it if he now makes the effort. But I'm at a point in my life to where I'm doing me.
How do you think your dad would explain who you are becoming to other people?
I would say my dad would probably tell people, he actually is telling people that I'm becoming a lot more independent, because I was growing up when he was in Chicago. I was a very dependent child. Like my mom would be like, go to the corner store, da 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 da. I was like, we live on the south side. I was like, I'm not doing that unless there is an adult with me. And with that, I was very like, I need somebody to do things with me.
Right.
But now that I'm in my mid-20s, I like own my own film company, do this, do that, do this on my own. And it's even to the point, I feel like that individualism is another reason why I don't I talk to my parents, but I don't like reach out for them for help as often as I used to. So I definitely would say my dad would probably be like, he's doing his thing, he's out there. Yeah. I trust him that he's living it up, living his best life.
I think who I'm becoming is somebody who is protecting themselves in the way that they haven't been protected. I don't really know. I feel like I be trying to avoid listening to it, because I feel like my dad is like one of those people where like if he agrees with what I already have like my mind on, like I don't want to do it. But I think like one thing that's been consistent in irony is that like he kind of bows out of some of the conflicts we have, saying like, you're gonna be like a really good father. And I'm just like, okay.
I think that they would describe me as becoming more of a man of my word and commitment. I think I've always been known to be a person that it has been either like ahead of my time or horse of a different color, however people want to describe it, but being nervous to walk in that. But now I feel like as I've been developing more as an adult, because I still feel like I'm a child sometimes, developing more into an adult, I realize that everybody goes through that, and you land somewhere. So not land where I know I feel where I should be. Yeah. So I would hope that they would say that I'm a person that walks boldly and without fear in most places. Because one thing that was instilled in me is that fear is never going to leave. So learn how to work through it. Do
y'all have, do your dads or anybody like father figure in your life have some type of phrase that they always say? Like my dad, and I live by this today, is like, it's better to have and not need than to need and not have. Are there any phrases or anything that y'all live by that you picked up from them?
There was one from my first stepdad. He's like, you never have to accept the first offer or the first deal. Like, don't jump. Yeah. You always have time to think about things. And if they try to like force any decision on you, you can always walk away.
Yeah.
And I think that's always stuck with me, especially when I feel like there's pressure or urgency to do something. I always say, no, there's time to sit back and actually think it through before stepping to make a decision.
I think not going to sleep angry.
Yes, not going to sleep angry. Yes.
Yeah, my dad would say, don't argue with stupid people, or just don't argue with stupid. And I'm like, yeah, because the stubborn, and what I took from that is like, at first, because I heard that in middle school, I was like, oh, this person's stupid. I'm just not going to argue with them. But now as I'm older, I'm realizing it's probably more towards like stubborn people who just are very like, won't change their mind at all, even if you're arguing. Right. So preserving my energy is something I got from my dad.
Hi, I'm Darius Hillman. Joining me on the Next in the Arena, social media sensation and the world's auntie, Imani Van Zant.
Get to a point where you have to realize You are the prize.
Join the conversation Tuesday at 7 p.m. on CAN TV, cable channel 19, and streaming on cantv.org and the CAN TV Plus app. Experience the power of community television.
On the next episode of Hustle, Play, Love, we'll talk to Jackie Abram, an employee workplace discrimination consultant who was pushed to the brink by racial bias at work and fought back. Then, we'll indulge in the delicious world of rare wines with sommelier extraordinaire Will Hightower. Join the conversation Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. on CAN TV, cable channel 19, or stream live on cantv.org or on the CAN TV Plus app. Experience the power of community television.
I'm in my bag. So soft and so tender.
Is marriage important to you? And if so, why? If not, why? Or if you're on the fence, why?
It's not important to me, but I'm not like opposed to it because again, my Uncle Kevin, and my tia Veronica, they're not married and they sleep in completely different rooms, but they were like, we're gonna raise these children that we made together, and we're not gonna live in separate houses and ruin that dynamic. I think it's awesome that they're able to live in the same household, not be married, and not be in a stereotypical relationship and still raise my two cousins, I think, extremely well because both of them are doing great stuff right now.
It's linked in the way that whoever I have in my life, whether it is like spouse or like partner, as well as like my community and the people that would be around, like the youth that are like cared for in my life, like that makes like a really big difference. But those two things like don't necessarily go hand in hand.
I think marriage is important, but more important than marriage, I think partnership is important because I think it shows a child like commitment and partnership and sharing, like all of the things that we need to learn throughout life, but you learn it from the two most important people in your family, whether it's a straight couple, gay couple, whoever the couple is, as long as there's a strong, solid foundation of like partnership. Yeah. I think that's really important for kids. And because I was raised by a single mom, primarily without my dad. So I think that's one thing that I'm learning now as an adult is going back and learning like the foundation of commitment, the foundation of partnership, and what that looks like and means in my life. Right. So yeah, I think in whatever fashion or whatever way it looks, as long as there's some type of partnership that could be like an example for kids or something, because I think that's just important to have.
Okay, so this leads right into the next question. How did your father's love life affect the kind of relationships you want to build in life?
It impacted me in a negative way. My dad cheated on my mom a lot, lied a lot, it was just games left and right. And so I think that really, going back to talking about commitment and all of that really set me off in a direction to whereas I had to like reset course as an adult, because that was the only visual or example that I had. So I think it shaped it in a way because it showed me like what I don't want to do and don't want to be, and then trying to work in building up that person based off what I know I don't want.
Yeah.
Even though my dad and I's relationship isn't like tight like that, watching him with his love relationships in the past, watching him go from like the stereotypical college athlete type, like, oh, I'm gonna do whatever, blah, 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 I'm gonna sleep with XYZ, 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 to going to my stepmom now, who he adores, and like gives her the world. It's so awesome to see. So I think I've seen him in a negative light, but I've also seen him in a positive light. So I can see the things that I want to keep and the things what not to do. And since he's lived that life, it helps me a lot now to navigate my current relationships.
It used to affect them like a lot. And I think that's mainly because, and I think this is like collective for like parents and step-parents. Like I don't think I've ever really seen any of my parents or step-parents receive the love that they need in partnership. And like that came an attachment with like endurance. And then like my parents, they used to like run the marriage council at like my old church. So like it was like a whole bunch of like image stuff and like all this other hullabaloo. And then even like a lot of the like principles that were like supposed to be like instilled, like that would be most like carried when it came to like public. So I think that like I don't really know like love through like my parents like relationships with each other. And like with my dad, like I think that my dad loves how he knows love. But like I don't know, like, and I can't speak on it for him, because like what's fulfilling for me and like the depth of what love is for me is like super different. But like I don't know that I've ever like seen that. So I think it definitely left me wanting when I was younger. But now like I know like what love is not in a way that protects me, and like I'm able to name and recognize like what love is, or like what love needs to be to like guide me.
On the next Chicago Newsroom 2.0, we'll take another look at the continuing migrant crisis with reporter for the Austin Weekly News, Francia Garcia Hernandez, and 3 Questions with host, Hugo Balta.
I think the narrative needs to change quickly from a negative to a positive.
Join the conversation Wednesday at 7 p.m. on CAN-TV Cable Channel 19, or stream live on cantv.org or on the new CAN-TV Plus app. Experience the power of community television.
I'm Hugo Balta, host of the program 3 Questions With. In a society that is becoming increasingly diverse, different communities must come together and find common ground. Black and Latino communities in particular have a unique opportunity to collaborate.
So we focus on working with smaller nonprofits who are looking to grow scale but don't have the capacity to navigate.
Join us on Wednesdays at 7:30 in the evening via Channel 19, streaming on cantv.org and the CAN-TV Plus app.
I'm in my bag. So soft and so tender.
I got one more for y'all. All right. Where do y'all want the conversation of Black fatherhood to go from here?
I think that like the conversation of Black fatherhood, like it has to be a conversation about like who like Black fathers are as people who want to father children, and like how are you creating a life that you need to have in order to like fulfill you and sustain you, so that you're able to like recognize like what life needs to look like in order for you to be ready to step up to the task of fatherhood. Or even just like parenthood too, to like decentralize that. But sometimes parenthood doesn't come like when you plan it, but just like on some just real shit, like do you have what you need to be the parent that you need to be? Type shit, and be the person that you need to be. It has to be more about like who, I guess like parents or like masters and the parents like decide to really like show up as in their life, and to understand that parenthood is a part of your life and parenthood is like your priority. And like in some ways like you have not a duty in like the typical sense, but like an obligation to like, if you're gonna show up, to show up in health. But to really like figure out like what your health looks like before you even like step up to that shit in the first place.
Black fatherhood to me, like I want it to look like, if I became a father, I would personally teach my children how to navigate white spaces, but also how to navigate Black spaces. Because me personally, I went to a predominantly white high school, so being in that type of space and not having a father figure to help me navigate through that space really condensed my mindset, and like I became like I was trying to fit in with a white crowd instead of like navigating with the Black community. So I would say definitely, and like you said, having friends and stuff like that. So definitely Black community and white community, how to navigate both of those spaces. So that my children or potential children can be who they want to be without having to feel pressure to be someone else.
My overall answer is I would love the conversation to go in a direction towards it reshapes or changes the image that's been placed on Black fathers. I think that it, like your dad was, I think somebody mentioned about, poetry really like slamming fathers.
Yeah.
And I think that like if we find a way to come back from the stereotypes or to really realize what the truth is about Black fathers, which is that all of them are not like that. To really be able to set them up in a space to where they can take care of themselves first before having kids, or setting them up with opportunities to be able to know how to step into fatherhood.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, like none of us are ready to be a father. I mean, nobody's ready to be a father when the time comes. I mean, you really just learn it along the way. And how can you learn along the way without the tools to be able to get you to it, down the journey? I mean, it's just, I would love the conversation to go in a direction to where it just reshapes what's been placed upon us, as opposed to us having the opportunity to make the narrative ourselves, is what I feel like I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Where I want the conversation to go is just a very normalized reception of Black fatherhood in particular, since that's what we're talking about. Obviously that extends to, Black motherhood, Blackness in general, like you talking about navigating Blackness, especially in white spaces. But I want this to exist in white spaces and it not be some weird shit. I want this to exist in white spaces and just be like, oh yeah, that's another dad right there. And I already know the parallels between my dad and his dad and her dad and their dad, whatever, So yeah, thank y'all so much for sitting down and talking with me. Y'all are geniuses. I don't know if y'all know that, but this is like the wisdom that y'all carry. Thank you for gifting that to me and to the audience too. So much love to y'all for real, and best of luck on the endeavors that y'all got going on. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So soft and so tender. Daddy in the kitchen and he told me, son, listen. He said, you don't have to play the part that they wrote for you. You don't have to play the part.
I'm like, how he do that twice? Why that boy so nice? Why he cuff the mic like a baby bite?
So soft and tender. Bet he like that in any weather. Bet he only bite if he
don't get it twisted. I be in the gym ready to box. Why would I not? Niggas out here creeping hard on the block. My pops taught me if you can't win the fight with your brain, you could definitely throw a hand.
Sean Taylor,
Yes.
you and I.
Darius Hillman.
We met each other, gosh, over maybe a decade about at Chicago Urban League.
At Chicago Urban League, yes.
And then fast forward 10 years, you were here for one of our most important episodes of Chicago Newsroom, where we talked about book banning. Because,
passionate about that topic. Yes.
And part of the reason why is because you have, we all do, but you truly have skin in the game as an author. And we sat and you all had the best conversation. You and Tracy Daniel Ash, Commissioner Chris Brown from the Chicago Public Library, and a studio audience. So good that we said we're going to do it again. Then you came a few weeks later, and we had a guest here talking about, who was the guest?
My Cosette Nazon Wilburn with the Love, Unity, and Values Institute was talking to Andy.
Yes, and then we, I think you, myself, Cosette, her husband, went into the hall.
Yes, and we had a whole meeting in the hallway.
And let's talk about, so people understand why that matters, what came out of that meeting, and I think we sort of, you and I sort of knew it at the time because we work with each other. We kind of say what we mean what we say, and we're like, let's do it. What came out of that show, and that was maybe 4 months ago, is a show called Hustle, Play, Love.
Yes.
Because you and I are always talking, always collaborating, and we knew something was happening there. You was like, something is percolating for me, Darius, and when I'm ready, I'm going to send you something. And you sent something.
I did. I kind of gave you that look. I remember you kind of gave me that look like, I have a slide open, and I'm like, oh, really?
Yes, you did. And when I heard from you, you went, challenge. Yes.
And you were like, well, why don't you?
Okay, it's the mocking for me, but that's what happened. I was like, well, do it.
That's exactly what happened.
And then when it came, I was like, oh my gosh. It reminded me, I was like, oh, Treetop Consulting. She's a writer. She's written books. You co-authored a book with Tamron Hall. You have a second one coming out. You were a journalist for 14 years at the Tribune. I'm like, oh, I forgot. She's actually talented. So
You forgot?
No, I was newly reminded. So we have this, and I'm so thrilled about this show. We are on your set right now. As soon as we finish this conversation, you will be taping what will be your second show of the season.
Yes.
Tell us what Hustle, Play, Love is. What type of show? What was the thinking behind it, kind of the log line, and what do you hope to accomplish with our viewers?
Well, you know, I started thinking about it the minute I left the studio that day after we had that conversation. And, you know, the fact that you said, you know, you had kind of maybe forgotten that what I had going on out here, that's because of the pandemic. I was under covers. I was in the house. I was writing books. I was at my computer, but nobody was seeing me. And so I wasn't really out there that much. And so when I got home and I got to thinking about, well, what do I want to talk about right now? And it really kind of hit home with what I was feeling and what I hear a lot of other people feeling is that, you know, forget the new normal. I hate that word now. The new normal, I rebuke that because we're not going to get stuck in that mindset of being limited in what we're able to do. And so not only limited, but for me, this is a coming out. I heard Diana Ross in my head singing, I'm coming out.
I love that.
I'm coming out. It's like I'm getting out of the house. I'm getting out from behind the shadows. I'm wearing my clothes. And really talking to people about the how they're working and living, how we can learn from it and be inspired by it. You know, the play is, for me, it's entertainment, it's wellness, it's travel, which is something I am deeply passionate about. And the love, of course, it'll be some relationships, which is how we open the first segment, which is really fun.
Oh my gosh.
But it's a love of things and places too, you know, and we lost some of those things too. Places that we love to go to, restaurants we love to go to, and theater we love to go to. A lot of that we lost, we missed out. So now, forget new normal. This is the new, let's hit the ground running and just, you know, live life to the fullest.
I love that. I am so, you and I have worked together. I have great respect for you, great respect professionally, personally. But the joy is that we will share Tuesday nights together in the arena at 7 o'clock, followed by Hustle, Play, Love at 7:30. Sean Taylor, I know for those who have not, the few in Chicago, but you are going to be such an incredible addition to the Can TV original program family. But just watching what you're doing, the conversations, right now we're all looking for what our new hustle, or what the next chapter of our Hustle, Play, Love looks like. So this show is right on time. So check us out. Tuesday nights, 7 o'clock in the arena, 7:30.
7:30 Tuesday nights.
Hustle, Play, Love.
Hustle, Play, Love. I just want to say thank you to everybody here at Can TV. The crew is fantastic. I feel so special.
We love you right back.
Thank you for making me feel loved.
Welcome back to the family.
Thank you.